By August, the same $100 grocery cart you fill today will cost between $108 and $112. That is not a prediction from a doom channel. That is the math from Walmart's own pricing data, confirmed in their latest earnings. Tariff pass-throughs are hitting the shelf in waves, and the first big one lands right after the July 4th holiday. That gives you roughly 3.5 weeks to lock in current prices on 10 specific items that analysts flagged as first movers. I've verified every price you're about to hear at Walmart as of this week. Let's get into it. 10. Iodized salt. A 26-ounce container of great value iodized salt runs 98 cents at Walmart right now. That is the lowest unit price on the shelf. Here's what other channels miss on salt. Iodized specifically matters for long-term storage because iodine deficiency becomes a real issue after month 2 of a disrupted food supply. 90% of prepper content tells you to grab salt for preservation, which is true. But they don't tell you that non-iodized table salt and sea salt do nothing for thyroid function in a prolonged scenario. Great value iodized salt has a shelf life of 5 or more years when sealed. Buy 4 containers. That's under $4 and it covers a family of 4 for more than a year of daily cooking. 9. White rice. The great value long-grain white rice in the 5-pound bag is $3.37. That price is held since early this year, but rice is directly in the path of the next tariff round because a significant portion of U.S. commercial rice comes through supply chains that touch Southeast Asian processing facilities. The hidden angle here: white rice outlasts brown rice in storage by years. Brown rice has oils in the bran layer that go rancid. White rice, stored in a sealed container or mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, can last 25 to 30 years. If we covered the basics of food storage in earlier videos, this is the item that anchors everything else on that list. 8. Peanut butter. Great value creamy peanut butter, the 40-ounce jar, is $5.98. Peanut butter delivers 7 grams of protein and 16 grams of fat per 2 tablespoons serving. In a grid-down scenario where you're burning more calories than usual, fat becomes as critical as protein. The detail that gets skipped: commercial peanut butter with added salt and stabilizers has a genuine unopened shelf life of 18 to 24 months, not the 6 months on the label. The label date is a freshness guarantee, not an expiration. Rotate it into your regular pantry and you will never waste a jar. 1 jar per family member per month of crisis is a reasonable baseline. But what comes next is the one item most preppers assume they already have enough of, and almost none of them do. 7. Canned tomatoes. A 28-ounce can of great value diced tomatoes is $1.48. This is the most calorie-dense versatile base in crisis cooking and the most underestimated. Canned tomatoes are acidic enough to maintain their quality for 3 to 5 years past the printed date. The angle other channels don't cover: tomatoes are one of the only pantry items that give you lycopene, an antioxidant that becomes harder to source when fresh produce disappears from store shelves. In a disrupted supply, vitamin and micronutrient deficiency shows up before calorie deficiency. Grab 8 cans, that's under $12, and it covers the base of almost every one-pot meal you can make from a stockpile pantry. 6. Vegetable cooking oil. The great value pure vegetable oil in the 48-ounce bottle is $4.98. Oil is the second most important calorie source after grains in any emergency food system, and it is the item that historically disappears fastest from store shelves in a regional crisis. Ukraine, Venezuela, the 2022 U.S. baby formula and cooking oil shortage, every data point says the same thing. The practical application: you cannot fry, sauté, or make shelf-stable baked goods without fat. Peanut butter covers some of this, but oil is irreplaceable for cooking volume. The shelf life is 12 to 24 months unopened. Buy 2 bottles now, rotate them into regular use, and you are covered through next summer at current prices. 5. Dried pinto beans. The great value dry pinto beans in the 4-pound bag are $3.98. Dried beans are the most protein-dense long-term storage item by dollar. 4 pounds of pinto beans delivers approximately 60 servings at 15 grams of protein each. Indefinite shelf life when stored dry and sealed, which means a bag you buy today could feed your family in a scenario 10 years from now. The angle nobody covers: dried beans require water and fuel to cook, which makes them a secondary item, not a primary one. Pair every bag of beans in your stockpile with a bag of rice, a can of tomatoes, and enough fuel for 45 minutes of boiling. That combination is a complete meal system, not just a list of ingredients. 4. Rolled oats. Great value old-fashioned rolled oats, 42-ounce canister, $3.78. This is your breakfast infrastructure. 1 cup of dry oats is 300 calories and costs under 15 cents. In a disrupted food scenario, breakfast is the first meal that fails because most people have not built a non-refrigerated breakfast system. The hidden angle: oats can be eaten cold, soaked overnight in water, with no cooking required at all. That matters when fuel conservation becomes a priority. They also store for 2 to 3 years in the original container and up to 30 years in sealed mylar. Grab 2 canisters, that's under $8, and it handles breakfast for a family of 4 for approximately 2 months. But the next item on this list is the one that most preppers buy wrong, and getting it wrong means their entire stockpile costs them more over time. 3. Apple cider vinegar. Great value apple cider vinegar, 32-ounce bottle, $2.98. This is not on most prepper lists. It should be on every single one. Apple cider vinegar has an indefinite shelf life when stored sealed. The acidity is self-preserving. Here is what makes it critical. It is a food preservative, a surface cleaner with documented antibacterial properties, a digestive aid when the gut is stressed from eating unfamiliar or preserved foods, and a flavor agent that makes stockpile meals tolerable instead of just functional. The prepper community buys distilled white vinegar for preservation, which works, but apple cider vinegar does 4 jobs at once for $2.98. That is the kind of efficiency that matters when you are working with limited shelf space. 2. Saltine crackers. Great value saltine crackers. 16-ounce box with 4 sleeves, $1.84. Crackers are the delivery vehicle for every high-calorie item in your stockpile. Peanut butter on crackers. Canned fish on crackers. A layer of crackers under soup adds density to a thin meal. The practical reality in a grid-down scenario is that people lose appetite under stress, and familiar foods maintain caloric intake better than unfamiliar ones. Saltines are the most calorie-dense cracker per dollar at Walmart, and they have a genuine shelf life of 12 to 18 months in original packaging. Sealed in an airtight container, they extend further. Buy 4 boxes. At $1.84 per box, that is $7.36 for a full month of breakfast and snack infrastructure. And now, the number 1 item on this list, the one that almost no prepper channel covers, even though it belongs in every stockpile, has an indefinite shelf life and can be used for at least 6 distinct crisis applications. 1. Raw honey. Great value pure honey, 32-ounce bottle, $7.98. Honey is the only food on this planet with a documented shelf life of thousands of years. Archaeologists found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that was still edible. Honey crystallizes but does not expire. Warm the jar in water and it returns to liquid. Here are the 6 applications other channels skip. Caloric-dense energy source at 64 calories per tablespoon. Natural wound dressing with documented antimicrobial properties. Cough suppressant and throat treatment. A flavor preservative for fermented foods, a barter item that holds value in prolonged disruptions, and a natural preservative for fruits. At $7.98, it is the highest unit cost on today's list, but it is also the highest utility item across the widest range of scenarios. 1 jar per household is the minimum. 2 is better. Here is the total for everything on this list. 1 container of iodized salt, 1 5-pound bag of rice, 1 jar of peanut butter, 8 cans of diced tomatoes, 2 bottles of cooking oil, 1 bag of pinto beans, 2 canisters of rolled oats, 2 bottles of apple cider vinegar, 4 boxes of saltine crackers, and 2 jars of raw honey. That comes to approximately $74.83 at current Walmart prices. That is a 30-day food foundation for 1 adult, or a 10-day foundation for a family of 4. I built a free checklist that maps all 10 items with exact quantities by household size. It's linked in the description and pinned in the comments. No email required, just download it. Next week we are covering the 1 Walmart aisle that nobody touches during a crisis, and the 8 items inside it that veterans say are worth more than anything on this list. That video goes up in 7 days. The best time to stock up was 6 months ago. The second best time is right now, before July 4th.